Hello everyone, my name is Alana. Welcome to my channel. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a like. Up. The hit spin-off prequel of The Big Bang Theory, Young Sheldon, has captured audiences with its charming portrayal of a young genius, Sheldon Cooper, and his early life in Texas. While the show's quirky humor, heartwarming family moments, and the rise of Sheldon's intellectual prowess have kept fans glued to their screens, the series has also faced its fair share of criticism and challenges. Recently, a cameo in Young Sheldon that references Star Wars has drawn attention to one of the show's biggest flaws: its inconsistency and the occasional forced pop culture references that seem out of place, even for a show set in the 1980s and 90s. In a recent episode, Young Sheldon dropped a surprising Star Wars reference that quickly became a topic of discussion among fans and critics alike. The moment, which seemed intended to inject some nostalgia and connect the world of Young Sheldon to the broader pop culture landscape, instead sparked an important conversation about the series' tone, its approach to storytelling, and its overall coherence with the established lore of The Big Bang Theory. This unexpected cameo highlights a deeper, more significant issue that may be affecting the show's quality as it continues to develop. The Young Sheldon episode in question revolves around Sheldon and his family navigating the challenges of growing up in a small Texas town. As Sheldon, played by Ian Armitage, struggles to fit in with his peers and manage his vast intellect, his family also deals with their own personal conflicts and aspirations. The show has been known for blending heartfelt family dynamics with the humor of a precocious child, and for the most part, it sticks to a relatively realistic narrative of life in the late 80s and early 90s. However, in a scene meant to bring some levity, Sheldon makes a reference to Star Wars, specifically to the iconic character Yoda. While Star Wars was a cultural touchstone by the time of the show's timeline, with the original trilogy having already left an indelible mark on pop culture, the way the reference is introduced feels jarring. Sheldon, who is clearly much more into science and logic than fictional universes, gives an overly detailed and technical analysis of Yoda's wisdom, suggesting that Yoda's teachings are based on principles of quantum physics and non-Euclidean geometry. While it's clear that Sheldon's character would appreciate Star Wars for its intellectual challenges, the manner in which the show shoehorns in this pop culture reference feels more like a forced wink to fans than an organic moment. It may be funny for some, but Young Sheldon has always been known for leaning into references to science fiction, comic books, and pop culture, traits inherited from its predecessor, The Big Bang Theory, where Sheldon and his friends constantly indulged in discussions about Star Wars, Star Trek, and superheroes. This was part of the charm of the original show, a group of highly intellectual, socially awkward individuals who used pop culture as a bridge to form connections and discuss deeper topics. But Young Sheldon's use of pop culture references has increasingly become a crutch rather than a clever narrative tool. The Star Wars cameo in particular highlights the show's tendency to rely on these references as a way of signaling geekiness or intellectualism. It feels as though the writers are trying to remind the audience that Sheldon is, in fact, the same character who grew up to become the socially awkward, yet brilliant adult we know from The Big Bang Theory. However, these references often feel disconnected from the narrative rather than necessarily with the references themselves, but with how they are used. A pop culture nod or a well-placed homage can be an effective storytelling device, adding layers to a character's personality or offering moments of levity. But when these references become the focal point of the scene or the joke, they risk overshadowing the show's core emotional beats. In the case of Young Sheldon, it can sometimes feel like the writers are trying too hard to make Sheldon cool or to connect him to the larger universe of The Big Bang Theory, rather than allowing the story to unfold naturally. The core issue with young Sheldon is that it is stuck between two worlds: the quirky, heartwarming coming-of-age family drama it originally set out to be, and the broader pop culture-infused universe of The Big Bang Theory. At its best, young Sheldon succeeds when it focuses on the family dynamics and Sheldon's unique journey of self-discovery. Episodes that dive deep into his relationship with his mother, Mary, and his father, George, offer some of the series' most emotionally resonant moments. These moments highlight the complexities of growing up as a child prodigy in a world that doesn't always understand or appreciate your genius. Sheldon's isolation, his difficulties with social interactions, and his struggles with fitting in are themes that resonate with many viewers. However, when the show veers into over-the-top pop culture territory, it risks losing that emotional connection. The Yoda moment, as well as other similar references, suggest that young Sheldon is trying to satisfy both Big Bang fans who want to see Sheldon's love of nerd culture and viewers who appreciate the show for its family-oriented storytelling. But this approach can feel muddled, as if the show can't quite decide whether it wants to be a quirky, character-driven drama or a nostalgic, genre-heavy comedy. This tension becomes more pronounced as the series continues to develop. With each season, young Sheldon increasingly references scientific concepts, classic pop culture, and geeky jokes that feel increasingly out of place in a show that is supposed to be focused on a young Sheldon Cooper finding his way in the world. The problem is not with Sheldon's affinity for science fiction or his intellectual interests. It's how these references often take center stage, distracting from the central narrative of a young genius trying to navigate the complexities of adolescence. The Star Wars cameo isn't just a minor misstep. It's indicative of a larger problem the show has been facing for some time. The balance between humor, heart, and intellectualism is delicate, and when the show leans too heavily into one aspect, whether it's pop culture or Sheldon's scientific brilliance, it runs the risk of alienating viewers who came for the emotional depth and family dynamics. Furthermore, young Sheldon has the challenge of being a prequel to a beloved character we already know quite well. This presents a unique set of narrative constraints. We know that Sheldon Cooper will grow up to be the eccentric, socially awkward physicist from The Big Bang Theory. The problem arises when the show overcompensates in trying to link his childhood to that future persona, often in forced or unnatural ways. By leaning on easy pop culture references like Star Wars, the show risks becoming a series of disconnected, episodic moments rather than a cohesive, emotionally resonant story. This is particularly troublesome given that young Sheldon has so much potential to explore the nuances of Sheldon's character and the complexity of his relationships with his family members. The humor and the pop culture references should complement those storylines, not overshadow them. While the Star Wars cameo in young Sheldon was amusing for some, it ultimately highlights an issue with the show's direction. As it continues to rely on forced pop culture references and connections to The Big Bang Theory, young Sheldon risks losing the heart and emotional depth that made it stand out in its earlier seasons. If the show is to avoid becoming a hollow exercise in nostalgia, it will need to recalibrate its focus. The story of a young Sheldon Cooper is one that doesn't need to rely on constant cultural winks to succeed. It's compelling enough on its own when it focuses on character development, family relationships, and the challenges of growing up as a gifted individual in a world that doesn't always understand. Fans will continue to enjoy the occasional pop culture cameo and quirky moments, but it's clear that young Sheldon has a bigger issue to tackle: finding a balance between its intellectual humor and its emotional storytelling. Only then will it be able to live up to the promise of its premise, and maybe, just maybe, stop with the Star Wars cameos. A flaw with the prequel show's cameos that the original series didn't have was brought to light in Young Sheldon Season 5, Episode 14. The Big Bang Theory gained notoriety for its science fiction and scientific-related cameos. Throughout its 6 seasons, young Sheldon featured a number of cameos, including Bob Newhart's portrayal of Professor Proton and other characters who were already essential to the Big Bang Theory. However, because young Sheldon is a prequel, it does not have the same opportunity to effortlessly incorporate many of Sheldon, Leonard Raj, and Howard's scientific and popular culture heroes as The Big Bang Theory did. Ming-Na Wen, star of Star Wars The Mandalorian, as Dr. Carol Lee in Young Sheldon Season 5, Episode 14, A Free Scratcher and Feminine Wiles. She was called upon to assist Doctors Linkletter and Sturgis in working with Sheldon, Ian Armitage, on their project. There aren't many significant appearances pertaining to pop culture or Sheldon's early hobbies, despite the fact that young Sheldon already had a lot of cameos, such as Vernie Watson's role as a nurse in both the prequel and The Big Bang Theory. Although Ming-Na Wen's appearance in TBD would have justified a reference to her Star Wars character Fennec Shand, young Sheldon was unable to make reference to Wen's portrayal of Shand in the present day. Since Leonard, Sheldon, Raj, and Howard were frequently spotted at science conferences, as well as conventions for comic books, movies, and television series, The Big Bang Theory provided the ideal backdrop for both science-related and pop culture cameos. They frequently met their heroes, and in the case of Sheldon, Jim Parsons, his enemies as a result of their connections and comic book interests. Because he portrayed a version of himself who knew Sheldon and whom Sheldon detested, Wil Wheaton's appearances on The Big Bang Theory were frequent and frequently humorous. Cameos from The Big Bang Theory made sense for the program since, in addition to allowing Sheldon and the others to meet their heroes because of the locations they frequented, such celebrities may be readily recognized. In fact, The Big Bang Theory's present setting made it simple for them to show up, because both the characters and viewers could recognize them. The cameos gave TBT fans the finest chance to experience the characters' joy at the star's arrival, because their fame coincided with the time when The Big Bang Theory was broadcast. There have been some memorable young Sheldon cameos. It is practically impossible for a cameo like Mark Hamill's to occur in young Sheldon as well, though, because they never generated the same level of excitement as other Big Bang Theory cameos. Young Sheldon appearances should be as significant to Sheldon, his hobbies, and his growth as the TBD cameos were in order to function as well as possible. Even while it could be more challenging to incorporate cameos from contemporary stars of Sheldon's favorite TV series and franchises, young Sheldon might nonetheless depict them as they would seem in the present day. Such cameos would be unique for Sheldon as a character, but as young Sheldon follows a comedy style, they may also be dismissed with ease. In this sense, young Sheldon cameos might grow to be as essential to Sheldon as they are entertaining to viewers of the program, perhaps even surpassing cameos in significance. Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and stay with us.